The truth about flammable cladding hidden from residents. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I thought we would have a look at this article from the ABC because it ties in with a lot of the issues with regards to flammable cladding. And one point, before we jump into that, I'll just jump over here to the Heise Says website. And here I've got the construction map where I've mapped out just leaked information from the inspections done in Sydney about flammable cladding inspections. And you see that there's different building where they've done the inspection. You know, it has an order been issued, yes, and they've got to provide a fire engineered solution or proposal. There's other ones where they haven't done the inspection. There's ones where they've done the inspection and there are no requirements. It's fine. Now, these buildings, the risk can vary. It could just be a tiny bit of aluminium composite cladding at a certain portion of the building, maybe near a fire escape that just needs to be taken off and replaced. It could be done in a day. Not that big an issue. Or it could be an entire side of a building that may need to be sprinklered, or there needs to be a management plan, or something needs to be put in place, or there could be nothing wrong with it at all. It could actually be a compliant material. But the government is not releasing this information. It's not releasing it. And I looked at another video, and I'm going to write down the time here. I'll link it above. Just in Darwin, with all of there were some concrete issues on buildings there, puncturing through the slab, the columns, and the government knew about that, but they didn't inform the members of the public of it. They kept that information to themselves, so people were buying into these buildings, not knowing they were also buying that other risk. Now, they haven't been releasing this information about flammable cladding because of a supposed risk to terrorism or arsonists. Now, I don't think an arsonist is going to wait for a long time to attack some cladding. If they're going to burn a building, they'll burn it anywhere. It's the biggest risk to this. The biggest risk here would be an unintentional accident by an occupant of a building. That's what happened in Melbourne. It's where someone has left some smokes on the balcony and it's caught on fire, went up the cladding. That is a much bigger risk. Now, because you've got more people in that situation. You've got more people sleeping there, more people living there, more people in that environment than some random coming and attacking it. So you've got to counterweigh those things. So addressing the random risk, they don't want to release it. That's the argument there. Now, addressing the occupant risk, the residents need to be informed. So that's why this article, I think, is very important, because it is showing us that the residents are not being informed. That's why if you make it public, they will definitely be informed. It will go everywhere. It will affect the price of the building. It'll affect people wanting to rent there, and so it should. That's the market. That is how the market operates. If the government steps in and restricts the ability of information to get out because they know better, they're hampering the ability of the market to operate. And we can see here that the other way of mitigating this risk isn't following through. So let's read this. So residents kept in the dark about fire risk of buildings as audits reveals flammable cladding dangers. And this is from Friday by Gabriella Merchant. So an Adelaide business owner says residents are being kept in the dark about whether flammable cladding means the apartment building that his business operates from is a fire risk. Kwong, how do you pronounce that? Nyang jointly owns a dessert cafe at the bottom of a large residential apartment block in Adelaide's CBD, and said he had learned nothing from his landlord about the status of the building. I think we should know, or we should be made aware that there are issues. It's not one of those things that you want to keep in the dark about until it's too late, he said. There are about 450 apartments here. That's quite a lot of people. A state government audit yesterday revealed dozens of privately owned South Australian buildings require urgent remedial works, to deal with potentially flammable aluminium cladding. But Infrastructure Minister Stephen Knoll has left it up to landlords to inform tenants in the first instance and has refused to consider stumping up government money to rectify the situation. So there you go. How can the landlords be then held account? What if they're... I mean, I had another person ringing up where there was an issue in a building where the landlord wanted to hide some serious moulding in the building. And he wanted to know who he could talk to. So it shows you. And this landlord was an engineer, a wealthy person. So he said it was up to South Australian councils to ensure the owners of private buildings took necessary steps to reduce the risk. None of these buildings has been assessed as needing to have occupants evacuated, he said. Well, there you go. So they've done a risk assessment, but people still need to be made aware. Okay, saying needing to be evacuated is insane. That is another level. Banning people from smoking cigarettes on balconies until cladding's replaced, that's very different. Those are two very different things. So all of these buildings are buildings in the short term that are able to be occupied. So council is not disclosing the fire risk. The Adelaide City Council will not disclose the risk profile of nearly 70 buildings in the CBD and North Adelaide, confirming only that no buildings were rated as extreme risk or worse. So there you go, there could be a whole lot that have issues that need to be managed. And you've got to understand, often these problems can be managed very easily, some of them. You know, it may not be that high risk. It may be, you know, in the corner of the second story, on the edge of a commercial building surrounded by glass, there's some aluminium wrapping around a column. And that could be flammable. But the chance of a fire starting in that particular location and spreading or being contained is minimal. And there's risk assessments in place. If the public is educated and made aware about this, that's good. But I feel like they're not. So, however, multiple other South Australian councils have said they've already removed from 6 buildings flammable cladding, which required immediate action to make them safe. I think some of them were toilets. The Salisbury Council investigated over 80 buildings replacing cladding on 3, while the Playford Council identified 1 building requiring immediate action. The Mount Baker Medical Centre was also identified as being at moderate risk. The state opposition leader Tom Koutsantonis said it was the minister's responsibility to intervene. Perhaps the minister should talk about closing those buildings or making sure they're made safe immediately, he said. No, we just need to make the public aware of what buildings have the risks and what the risks are. Hiding information doesn't build public confidence. Well, he's right there. Adelaide Councillor Philip Martin said he wanted the council to release the information it has. In these circumstances, government's hiding information doesn't build public confidence, it actually destroys it. When you're open, people can see what's happening. Transparency is the key. But that's the thing, our glorious leaders know better than us proles. They know better than us dumb, stupid, tax cattle. I mean, don't think, guys. Just go to your Afterpay and increase your consumer debt. Take out that other mortgage to buy that house because it's going up, up, up. Eat your sugar-laden processed crap and get diabetes at 60 and then die at 70. That's life. And shut up and do as you're told. So, sorry guys, I went a bit off topic there. So, he said even when properties were privately owned, they were a public safety risk, particularly in the city. The problem with flammable cladding is that once it is on fire, it just collapses and falls off buildings in molten chunks, he said. Anyone who is in the vicinity of a building that is a cladding fire is in great danger. And there is the Grenfell Tower building there. Now, I know a lot of buildings that were built, public housing in the UK, was prefabricated using a panelised concrete system that were bolted together. The problem was it was done in design construct, supervision was terrible, and the bolting, the joining of these different panels, the system needed to be stuck together because that gave it integrity. And the junctions, the joints and the bolt methods was never done properly or didn't fit, so they just covered it up and they started falling off. Particularly when they were, maybe one point holding it all, when it rusted as well. So what they did is they covered these buildings in, you guessed it, composite aluminium cladding to act as a rain guard and protect that material. And here we see what's happened. So guys, the public needs to be made aware. We need more transparency, and I agree with those councillors. The greater risk here is to occupants who reside in these buildings having an accident. I would say that, 450 apartments, 2 people per apartment, 900 people. How many nutters are there that are running around setting fire to buildings in Adelaide that won't get caught? You people just go at him with a shopping trolley here in Australia or some chairs. They'll beat the crap out of it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to help me make more of this content and help the channel grow, I do have a Patreon subscribe star. I really appreciate all your support, and welcome to my new patrons that have joined up. I also have PayPal and even Amazon affiliate links that people are using. You'd be surprised, it doesn't cost you anything and it helps support the channel. Thank you all very much. It's very encouraging, guys. And with that, I'll say goodbye and see you next time.